If I asked you, what does it mean to be truly free with your food? What would you say? This is such an interesting concept to me because freedom with food means different things to different people. And I think when people think of following a carnivore diet, they think that this is the most restrictive, unfree way a person could eat. A lot of people think that freedom with food is eating whatever you want and as much as you want, whenever you want. Completely unrestricted consumption is true freedom with food. I used to believe this myself. In this episode, I will argue that an eating free-for-all of all our modern foods today is not actually true freedom. And if you find that you've had a hard time giving up certain non-carnivore foods, adopting this mindset is essential for moving past the allure of those foods that keep you falling off the wagon. When I first started working on this episode, I went to a few different dictionaries like the Oxford Dictionary, Cambridge, and Merriam-Webster, and I looked up the definition of freedom. I want to share with you a few of the definitions I found. Freedom, the quality or state of liberation from slavery or restraint or from the power of another. Independence. Freedom, the quality or state of being exempt or released, usually from something onerous. Onerous meaning burdensome, oppressive, troublesome, causing hardship. I find that one so interesting. Being exempt or released from something causing hardship, something burdensome. Freedom, the state or fact of not being subject to autocratic control. Autocratic meaning relating to a ruler who has absolute power. And one more that is a figurative definition from the Oxford Dictionary. Freedom, liberation from the bondage or dominating influence of sin, spiritual servitude, worldly ties, etc. What I like so much about these definitions when we're looking at freedom with food is that it points to an aspect of freedom that goes beyond the idea of mere unrestricted consumption. And that aspect is the fact that if we are a slave to something, if we are controlled by something, then we are not free. This is so apparent when it comes to modern stimulating foods. In my episode on food addiction, I asked you to think of a food that you tend to have less control over, a food that you often overeat or always want more of. For some people, an example might be Oreos. You go to have just one, maybe two, but end up having 6 or 7, and after that, you still want to finish the whole package. For some people, it's potato chips. You pop a can of Pringles, you grab a stack of 10, and you put the lid back on the can. But then you find yourself opening it up and grabbing another stack, and then half the tube is gone. Once you pop, you can't stop. It's like they know. For you, it might not be Oreos or potato chips, but everyone has something. Some type of food eaten in a larger amount or over a longer period than intended. Some type of food that you have a strong craving or desire to eat and keep eating. Because modern foods are incredibly stimulating, and the human body will respond to that intensity of stimulation. And the thing is, people have no idea how manipulated processed foods are. It's one thing to make things at home from scratch. Like if you were to make some homemade potato chips, you peeled a russet potato, you sliced it nice and thin, and you fried it yourself on the stove. That would be stimulating, certainly more stimulating than any carnivore food. But even a homemade potato chip ain't got nothing on a manufactured potato chip. Food scientists have tested and determined every possible detail for making a potato chip more pleasurable and addictive. They have determined that people like a chip that snaps with 4 pounds of pressure per square inch. They've determined that a louder crunch makes potato chips more enjoyable. The noisiest chips make people think that the chips are fresher and crispier. In the study where they reported those results, they even say in the paper that these results highlight the significant role that auditory cues can play in modulating the perception and evaluation of foodstuffs, despite the fact that consumers are often unaware of the influence of such auditory cues. We aren't even aware of all of these factors that go into perfecting the addictiveness of processed foods. Even the delivery of the potato matters. In the case of Pringles, what they do instead of frying potato slices is they make a sort of potato dough out of dehydrated potato flakes and then they fry it. It is known that the faster a starch breaks down and becomes sugar, the quicker our brain gets the reward for it. Highly refined foods bring pleasure quicker and more intensely. It's likened to getting drunk really fast. And it's not just manufactured foods. Most people have no idea how much sugar and salt and other additives restaurants use in the food they're serving. I worked at a restaurant in high school, and I remember the first time I was tasked with making the salad dressing, and I could not believe how much sugar was in that dressing. It was outrageous. People loved that salad, myself included, and I could see why. When you eat more and more foods like this, and as the foods we are surrounded by get more and more outrageous, you become accustomed to the intense stimulation of modern foods and lose the ability to control yourself. And if you can't say no to something, that's not freedom. If you feel intensely compelled to eat something, that's not freedom. When I began transitioning to carnivore a few years ago, I started to notice how completely ruled I was by food. Food would drive my behavior. I was obsessed with planning out meals, looking for the best recipes, perusing menus of local restaurants and bakeries, always looking for exciting food. In my video on why I like carnivore more than keto, paleo, and every other diet I've tried, I told you that one of the reasons why I like carnivore so much is that the cravings actually go away. That, to me, is true freedom. It frees me from being ruled by food to the point where I am doing stuff I don't want to do and behaving in ways I don't like. The vast majority of the modern foods we are surrounded by are literally designed to rule you, to overcome your sense of control. This is just how it is, because the point of those chips or cookies is to sell as many of them to you as possible without regard to your health. True freedom is actually being able to say no. True freedom is you being in control of what you're eating. True freedom is not having health problems that are caused by modern foods. The way I eat now is true freedom to me. It's freedom from cravings, freedom from health problems that dominated my life, freedom from the endless cycles of losing control during times of stress and binging, and then desperately trying to get it back. The most ironic part about it is that people say that the carnivore diet is so restrictive because you're not allowed to eat so many things. That's not the carnivore diet that I'm on. I am 100% clear that I am allowed to eat other things. I just generally don't because I don't want to. I don't like how I feel and what happens to me when I begin to eat other things. I choose to eat meat meal after meal from a place of free choice. This isn't about deprivation. With that said, a lot of people are on that kind of carnivore diet where you think you're not allowed to eat other foods. They don't have true freedom in their mindset. And there's a lot of should and coercion and feelings of deprivation. And if that is you, I want you to start catching and challenging that kind of thinking so that you can get to a place of peace and sustainability and feeling true freedom with your food. If you need help with this, with changing your mindset and your thoughts, this is one of the things that we do in my program, Carnivore Eating Mastery. Almost everyone who struggles with staying on a carnivore diet has issues with this restrictive mindset. And the problem is not just that it doesn't work. It has been demonstrated in studies like the Minnesota starvation experiment that restriction with food, even if it's self-imposed, causes binge eating and deranged behaviors. This is such an important aspect to be vigilant about in your thinking and in your behavior. Go to www.theroadtocarnivore.com to sign up for the waitlist, and I will let you know when I teach the next round of the course, or you can click the link in the description box.